Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66. Back in the house. Recently returned from a trip to Maui. The Test Geek in flesh form, Brian Lee, managing member of Test Geek Exam LLC. We'll take care of some housekeeping, and then we'll see if we can help you with some content, have some fun and fellowship along the way. And we'll get busy on that in just a sec. If you're looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, I recommend my YouTube channel. There's over 2,500 videos there, tens of thousands of watch hours. I've organized that in series playlists. So what you would do if you're taking 66, for example, you go to the Series 6 playlist. There's 4 of them. The first one gives you a nice overview of the exam itself, whatever exam it happens to be, in this case, 66. And that is a podcast that Brian and I did on the 66. And we get all kinds of people saying that was helpful to kind of see what it all looks like. If it was a book cover to cover, I guess, in this case, episode 1 to the final episode. Then we have lectures, practice tests, replays, those kind of things. Those videos are in suggested watch order. Those playlists and the videos in them are suggested watch order, but it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. Now, if you're looking for a particular topic, please, please, please use the channel search bar. Brian and I, invariably tonight, are going to get a question that we're going to answer that we know lives in video form 5 or 6 times in previous, live stream Q&As or elsewhere. So we're going to take care of you, but go in there. If you were looking for accrued interest, or you're looking for margin, or you're looking for parity, just put that in the channel search bar and that content will magically appear. It's unlikely with 2,500 videos, we don't have more than one video on whatever interests you in terms of that particular topic. That is if you're looking for a free supplement. I do not believe it is a time to be frugal. You want all the ammunition you can have in terms of making your mark on these exams, and you might want to consider a paid supplement. I think one of the best paid supplements, if you don't already have it, is a Kaplan Cubic. For the Series 7, for example, with my Guru 15 discount code at checkout, you get 3,600 performance opportunities. That's what I call practice questions for $55.80. Has the best performance tracker in its class, and that unlocks free access to my office hours. So if you use that Guru 15 discount code, then you're allowed to go get an office hour with me. If you're the only one that shows up, woohoo, then it ends up being an hour of tutoring. I charge $4.25 an hour, so that would be great value. Usually more than one person shows up to my office hours, but that's what about. Same for Brian, by the way. Brian has been kind enough to give a 20% discount code on his content. In fact, I got to send you an email, Brian. I'm comping a guy I'm tutoring. I'll send you the email. I'll send him your course. But Brian is really great at distillation of, I'll pick on my friends at Kaplan. My God, their 65 book, Brian, is as big as the Series 7 now. It's like 600 pages. When you get done with that and you're looking for a bridge to the actual, or distillation to the actual exam, I love Brian's Test Geek supplement, videos, PDF, practice test. And I usually ask people to consider making that investment in Brian when they're done with laying that base knowledge. That's when it's time to cross the bridge, so to speak, from that test prep vendor to the actual exam. Same deal, 20% discount. That means all in with Brian's videos, everything about $100. But again, that unlocks free access to my office hours. So if you use my Kaplan discount code or my Test Geek discount code, you're welcome to join me for the office hours. Let's see, what else do we have? You are not alone. You are not alone. Now let's get rid of this. Boom. Well, how come it's leaving that one up there? 20% discount. I'm trying to get hide. Well, it looks like, Brian, you're going to get a permanent commercial tonight because it's not letting me get rid of that. Let's freezing up here a little bit first. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're looking for a community to support you, join our test-taking tribe on Facebook. It's called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby brokers is a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. And a hat trick is 3 successes in a row. Think SIE 766, SIE 663. You get the idea. We're coming up on 4,000 members in that community, Brian. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So feel free to join us over there. If Facebook isn't your thing, we also have some Reddit communities. We have a subreddit for the Series 6, our Series 6. We have a subreddit for R Series 7. That's for the SIE 7. We have a subreddit for all the NASA exams, 63, 65, 66. And we have a Reddit for 9s, 10s, and 24s, R Series 24. Tonight, we end our evening. We'll probably cut Brian loose earlier because he doesn't like to sometimes hang out for the couple hours, but I will sometimes do that. Hour in, we'll do a drawing, whether we're finishing up or we're going to carry on. And when you win that drawing, I just want you to be clear what you do. Boy, I'm having troubles with my computer freezing up here a little bit. I hope I'm not freezing.
Yeah, your internet is a little choppy.
Oh, that's not good. Not bueno. Anyways, if you win the coaching call tonight, you do not win an hour tutoring at a date and time of your choice. That's not what you win. What you win is access to the coaching call. So you go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. That's my booking page. That's where you book tutoring, you book classes, whatever you want to book. You'll find on the class tab, coaching call for drawing winners. And that's where you get the link. And then I show up and we talk about whatever you want to talk about. I also have a weekly Q&A jam session. That's free to everybody, regardless of whether you use discount codes or whoever your vendor is. You can find that there. That's free on the class tab. We have a book club. We're meeting March 26th at 6 p.m. And I'm really excited about this month's read. This month's read is Streetwise, Getting To and Through Goldman Sachs by Lloyd Blankfein. And I'm sure that's going to have some great stories. He led the transition from Goldman Sachs being a partnership kind of a culture to being a publicly held company kind of culture. So I haven't started it yet, but I think it's going to be one of our good ones. We did Michael Dell's memoir. We did Shoe Dog, which is Phil Knight's. I usually try and pick biographies of people who are either in our business or adjacent to our business, something that kind of makes some sense in that regard. If you have a question tonight, not necessary. Oh, I forgot to tell us where you're joining us from. I guess I took that off too quick. Right, where you're joining us from. We, people all around the country, all over the world. We have India, Africa, all kinds of places. Crazy. Anyways, if you do have a question, it helps Brian and I pick you out of the chat if we know what exam you're taking. Because there's a lot of overlap. The way they test something on the SIE versus how they test on the Series 7 could mean much different in terms of depth and, judgment, that kind of thing. So helpful, not necessary, but helpful if you tell us what you're doing. Okay, let's see. I think we're ready now to see what we got going on. Well, let me get rid of that first. It's another long day's journey into night, Brian. I've done a day full of tutoring, and now we're doing the live stream. So I apologize. I'm not as quick on these things as I might otherwise be. All right, there we go. 65 in 11 days. That sounds like one of those novel titles, right? Around the World in 28 days, was it? Or 30 days or something? I've gotten 81. You should feel really good about that, Olivia. I mean, nothing wrong there. Can you explain the prospectus rules, omitting summary and statutory for mutual funds? I do not think on 65 that's going to be a high-risk test area. I think we should know that 33 requires a prospectus if you're going to sell brand new securities to the public, which indeed mutual funds are doing. I think that's the bigger issue, right? So you can make an informed decision. Now, a summary prospectus is just that. The title gives it away. It's not the full-blown statutory prospectus. I say, if you'd like that, I'm more than happy to send it to you. And in certain circumstances, we can sell without giving you a prospectus. I think here for like mutual fund marketplaces. Any other prospectus test question, we definitely make sure you know about Prospectus 33. In fact, you can get questions right, Olivia, by covering that screen. Are they asking me about paper prospectuses? 33. Are they asking about people and places? 34. So the 33 is really testable. This idea of omitting in summary and statutory, I don't think is a big deal. Brian, do you think
absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah, getting into the omitting summary statutory. That sounds like something that Kaplan and a lot of the textbooks do. They copy and paste from other exams.
Yeah. Yeah, Olivia. And by the way, I would also caution you with an 81. You're doing great. So you don't want to go down any rabbit holes. I would consider that a rabbit hole. I don't think there's any payoff there that I can think of. I'm taking the 66 next Friday. Any topics you guys are seeing come up more in the last few months? Well, no, the things that show up. I mean, quadros, for example, qualified dividends, incentive stock options. I mean, I had somebody, Brian, again, I get this a lot on both your content and my content. Somebody said, when are you going to put up a new thing? This is 2 years old. Well, there's no need. That's supposed my answer. There's no need to put up something new, for the sake of being new. I always joke my channel now is 5 years old, and Ava, if anything wasn't current, I would either put it in the video description or I would just remove it from the channel. So I don't think that. I mean, be careful, by the way, too, because every once in a while we'll get some debrief about a particular, like digital assets, for example, crypto, and it's like a viral infection. All of a sudden, everybody's focusing on it. And sometimes that takes you off the broad avenues and highways of that information. And, the person who's telling you that their draw could be much different than your draw, right? The draws are random, but I have referred to a face of death draw versus a dream draw. I'm wishing for everybody a dream draw. And the reason I love Olivia's scores in the previous, chat there, she said she's in the 81% range. And what I love is that gives her margin of safety. I would be willing to bet she can take down any draw that she actually encounters. By the way, it's random, but you could feel that. What I'm saying is there isn't like a randomizer that says, let's give this person a test from hell. So Brian, you think anything we would highlight and just in
I did create a little list from the feedback that you and I have gotten.
Yeah.
The most often feedback that perhaps isn't in my material, it's not in my class notes. So I do a quick update. Now, the last one I did was November. But You're absolutely right. Everybody says, what's new? What's new? Your stuff is 2 years old. The core content is what's going to make you pass. And that hasn't changed in 20 years.
Yeah, right on, Brian. The core content. Right? That's what I refer to, Ava, as those broad avenues and highways of that.
Exactly. I call it core content.
Yeah. You don't want to get in the mental cul-de-sac. The other one I would put along this lines, Ava, is people say, which test prep vendor has the questions that most closely resemble the exam? And again, that is fool's gold, because you don't want to learn questions and answers. You want to, as Brian said, understand those concepts. So that way, no matter how you get asked that, whether it resembles Past Perfect or Notman or STC or Kaplan, that you're prepared.
And everyone seems to have a different opinion on that anyway, right?
That's true.
Some people think Kaplan looks better. Some people say STC.
Oh my God. It's just like, it reminds me of like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin question. It's like, who cares? Now, by the way, I would add to that, though, one of the reasons Brian and I'll call myself, I'm not a Kaplan employee, but I will call myself a Kaplan guy. And here's why I'm a Kaplan guy, because Kaplan's QBank is the one that's, I think, most customizable, where you can actually create custom quizzes, you can manipulate it. It's got a performance tracker. I don't know how many practice questions we have, performance opportunities in that Kaplan 66 QBank, but boy, it's a lot. I know on the Series 7, that's 3,600 questions. The other reason again, it's probably because I'm more familiar, but at Kaplan, each of those QBanks are curated by a subject matter expert. Not all of them are my favorite people, but, they really put a lot of time and energy into it. Until we get Brian to write a QBank, which I don't think is likely, we're kind of stuck with what we got.
Too busy going to Maui.
That one more, though, commercial, Ava. Brian does provide in his materials, his supplements, a practice test, and all of his practice tests, I think, Ava, have the strongest correlation and vibe to the actual exam. So I think even if you're not going to buy his whole course, $100 all in, he's been kind enough to let me put them up for free on the channel in video form, and the PDF is only like $20 for whatever exam you're taking. So I highly recommend whoever you're using, Past Perfect, STC, Kaplan, spend $20 and go get Brian's PDF of a practice test.
The cost of a pizza.
Yeah, depending on the pizza, it could be less than a pizza. I had a pizza the other day, it was $30. What should you focus on most? Suitability, absolutely. I would review customer accounts. I hope that you overlearned your SIE, because there's a lot of overlap. So hit the variable annuities again, hit customer accounts. Brian, what else would you recommend on the 6?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's mutual funds and variable annuities is the great majority of it. But types of accounts is very important. It always seems like if someone misses it, it's because of the types of accounts. Absolutely.
Love it. Ava, thank you so much. I got to put that up. I think it's March 16th and 17th. I can't believe I keep forgetting to promote it at all. Oh my God, it's going to be like next week. That's terrible. I haven't told anybody. I don't work for Kaplan. Kaplan hires Guru Exam Prep LLC to teach one class a quarter. I am Guru Exam Prep LLC. And so, Ava, I will see you in that class. I hope you use the discount code. Remember, as a Kaplan student, you also have access to that free hour. So you're welcome to join us. If you go to teamtennytutoring.setmore.com, hit the class tab, you'll see the office hour, and you're welcome to join us before or after class for those office hours. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you there. I get a little aggravated, Brian, because cap that. And I sometimes am pushing it on social media. I told you I've been lazy. I forgot to even tell people I'm teaching this class. I'll have to take care of that, Ava. Thanks for the nudge. I'll take care of that tonight. But boy, then I get a lot of people there. And, I think I'd like about 20 people. Maybe I shouldn't promote about 20, 25, I think is kind of the sweet spot. And then the roster comes out like the night before class, Ava. So, I'll check. I wish it came out sooner. Not that I can't handle. I've done classes with hundreds of people, thousands of people, not a problem. However, I go, oh my God, so many people are. Well, you're off to a bad start. My name is not Dan. My name is Dean. Dean.
The E.
Yeah, you forgot the E there. Maybe that was a typo and you didn't mess up my name. You got Brian right. That's Brian. I just want to thank you. Well, there you go. Well, you're welcome. I don't know what you're thinking of for us yet, but you're welcome. By the way, I'm reading the comments as I would just want you to read test questions. As I go through the reading the comment, I'm trying to pick up those pivot words that kind of tell me what I'm projecting I think this answer is going to be about, or, what this question on the test is about. Thank you for answering one question about interest rates versus short-term, long-term 2 weeks ago. Passed the Series 7. Woo! Fun 7. I am so glad you're telling me because we ring the bell for testing victory. We also, and how blessed am I was smoking a Cuban cigar last week, Brian, and somebody sent me a bottle of Cuban rum. The gift or gratuity rule does not apply to the Test Geek or the Gurus. I'm pouring the Savannah Club. That's our toasting beverage tonight for testing victories. And let me get that going. And our victory cigar for tonight is the Aroma de 2,000 boxes, and I own 2 of them. I don't think that makes me a principal stockholder in La Roma de Cuba. I think that means 2%, right? Is 2,000 of 2 of that the right number?
That's 1%, 1/10 of 1%.
How blessed is that? Maybe I should try and corner the market on them. I have them all. Now the price is whatever I say the price is. And let's light this puppy up. Boom. Did I tell you, Brian, April 16th, you're welcome to join me. You said you hadn't been to New Orleans. I'm going 16th through the 19th. And guess what I'm going for? The Premium Cigar Association. Another lifestyle investment. I made a lot of silly lifestyle investments by invested in a cigar lounge. And I said, hey, as part of that, can I come along? So I'm going to be, my name tag is going to say social media manager. That will be fun. Just like that. Yeah, I joke, Fun 7. I can't imagine any draw of any test where you're in some way, you're not going to be tested about interest rates because, as I always say, right, if anybody ever asks you about economics, finance, or investments, and you want to sound smart, you should say it has a lot to do with interest rates. If you just shut up, you sound good. People say, what about them? You say they fluctuate. Is that good news or bad news? You say it depends. Then if you really want to spice it up, you say, I've been watching the Fed. I'm concerned about monetary policy because that's what the Fed controls is those interest rates, right? And then Fund 7, your question. I said, I'm a little concerned, Fund 7, because the yield curve is flat. A lot of uncertainty. Usually the normal yield curve isn't flat. I'm worried that it may invert. And if it inverts, watch out. That's a negative leading economic indicator. I just want to pat. All right. Woo. All right. Lamar. I bet Lamar. Look at that. That's the hat trick right there. What's a hat trick plus 1? In hockey, Brian, if you get 4, it's still a hat trick?
Yeah. Hat trick's 3 or more.
3 or more. So we don't get to put a plus or.
No. It's hockey. It's not that complicated.
there is not a whole lot of math involved, right? 3-1, 3-2. What do I recommend? Well, okay, this is important. Olivia, the first thing I recommend is avoiding energy vampires. I got in trouble, Brian, with this guy. I told him to avoid distractions. And he said to me, he goes, Dean, my wife and my kids are not distractions. I said, okay, let me rephrase that. They're certainly assets. They're not liabilities. I apologize. But you got to kind of protect your psyche, because 2 days leading up to the exam, you're concluding your execution of your study plan. The days of cramming the night before and passing tests is over. That's not going to work here. So you're just trying that last 2 days, kind of button the things up. Depending on your confidence level, the day before the exam, maybe do one more practice test just to keep your rhythm and get an intellectual inventory. Olivia, I feel really good. You told me 81, so you have no reason not to feel comfortable and confident. And so, watch the videos. And then I can't stress this enough, particularly on NASA exams. You need your reading skills to be in top form, because on NASA exams, particularly all exams, RTQ, RTFA, read the full question, read the full answer set. And, when I get tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. I had a guy yesterday, we were doing a shared screen practice, Olivia. He didn't score as well as you. And I know how aggravating it is to him. He's got it in his brain housing group. But when he was missing questions, he was missing like the not or the except, right? He's not reading the question. And so I just want you to make sure you got your reading skills. That means getting a good night's rest. So, whatever the night before, by the way, the night before might be important. If you suffer test anxiety, it doesn't sound like it. I mean, it looks like you've been executing a study plan without that. But then I would say maybe the night before is where you need to get a night's sleep, because, the night before you might go, I got to sleep. I can't sleep. I got to sleep. So maybe start powering down even a little earlier. It's time to just stick the landing, basically, right? This is the part of your study plan where we say, put your seat back in the upright position, gather your belongings, and get ready to stick the landing, right? Brian, your thoughts on that? 2 days up?
Yeah. Again, we don't have any practice scores. I don't think.
She was getting 81. Yeah. I think that was Olivia, right? She's taking 65, 11 days, 81. She's looking good.
Yeah. And I'm assuming with an 81, she's already ran performance trackers, looked for the weak areas, remediate those weak areas.
Make sure
you're almost. Yeah. It's basically review time.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Olivia, this is such a pleasure to be able to say this, because we don't say this to many people. Make sure you don't burn out. 11 days out, make sure you're keeping a pace, because, people who work sometimes, burnout is real on these exams, and you can, you've demonstrated that you are executing a successful study plan, but you still have 11 days. So you don't want to run out of ammunition 3 days from now, because you burnt through all the practice questions and now you got nothing to do for 8 days. So just keep a pace. Want you to this 11 days and the 2 days, think, okay, what pace am I going to keep here? And don't work too hard. Brian and I don't believe in doing more than one practice exam a day. And we think you should spend as much time remediating that practice exam, identifying through the performance tracker things to work on, not doing more than one practice exam. And the other reason I don't want people doing that is because you can, again, burn out. And we're looking for clean data, a clean mark in terms of intellectual inventory. And I had a guy who said, I did 4 today. I go, that's a waste of your last 3, because we want a data point that's reliable. So, but hey, this is what we call, Olivia, a champagne problem. Champagne problems are problems that aren't really real. They're like, wow, don't you wish you had such a problem? There's probably, Olivia, a lot of people in this live stream who say, I wish I was getting 81s, right? 11 days out.
Exactly.
Oh, I love Schwab, Elijah. I spent a lot of my career in San Francisco, and I used Schwab Institutional Group as the custody and for my customers' my clients. And so I love it. Chuck used to be in San Francisco quite a bit. It'd be funny because people would say, oh, you're that guy who plays Charles Schwab on TV. He goes, no, I am Chuck Schwab. I highly recommend. We did in our book club. We read his memoir. I highly recommend it, called Invested. And there's some great stories in there about Chuck and margin accounts, and the Bank of America bought Schwab, and then he bought it back, and there's a lot of good stories. You pass the SEI in my own, man, you're off to a great start, man. How many corporate trainers love to hear that? Say that on my own, I took the SIE and I got that one already. Woohoo! I plan to be ahead of the group. Well, you're already ahead of the group. What lectures of yours would I suggest to really work on? Well, one of my playlists on the Series 7 Guru, my Series 7 playlist, no surprise, is in depth. I probably have 8 different playlists for the Series 7. And what I would recommend is my playlist that says Series 7 Cram Course. And what that playlist is the equivalent of my 4-day Series 7 class. Starts with equity securities. So if you go all the way through that, that would be, the equivalent of the 4-day class. So that's what I would do. Go to the Series 7 Cram Course playlist and just, watch that all the way through. I'm glad you're supplementing, because Exam FX, I think, is a little skinny on the content, Elijah. So I'm glad to hear that you're supplementing and that you're, using some other resources as well. Now, if you have $100, don't forget you can buy Brian's supplement, and that's kind of the same thing in terms of giving you an overview of that whole thing, start to finish. It's equivalent of his course is his videos, right? It's a course on video format. So if you want to spend some money, send $100 Brian's way, and I think it's 105, whatever. But that would be another good thing to do. Any last minute advice? I don't know what soon is, Alex. How soon is soon? Options. I'm always torn on 66 and 65 on options, because if you get them, they're recognition and they're hedge, and they're pretty linear in nature. And so it's a rabbit hole, I think. If you don't remember your options from year 7, I'm assuming you have a 7, you're taking 66, even though that may not be true, because 66 does not require sponsorship. Brian said, too, I'm with Brian on this. I think it'd be worthwhile to guest be assigned at a universe and spend that time elsewhere in target-rich environments of the exam. Laws and registration, unethical business practices, sources of financial information, analytical methods. So I think there's a much target-rich environment. Even though I say that, Alex, I find myself all the time putting option videos into the 66 playlist and taking them out, putting them back, and I can't decide. Oh, there we go. So we do have a Series 7 pass. Woohoo! Oh, I forgot to ring the bell. I'm so busy on my drinking my cumin rum and my cigar that I forgot to ring the bell. Oh my God. Huge help. Well, thank you. That's what we are trying. I mean, it's always very gratifying when Brian and I can contribute to testing victories like you. That's what we love to do. 63 in about a week. I love it. Week and a half. I love you're not drawing that out. You're going to go collect another testing victory. Any advice on stuff to hammer down or stuff not to get bogged down? 63, unethical business practices. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. If you've been using my video, I have a great video for anybody taking the 63, 65, or 66. On all those exams, a big component is the template called the Uniform Securities Act. And I have a video called 90-90. It's 90 minutes on the Uniform Securities Act. What I tried to do there, Brian, is condense my 4-hour discussion of the Uniform Securities Act into 90 minutes. And so I highly recommend that video. No surprise. Check that out.
Don't forget our podcast.
Oh, yeah. Another great one, Alex.
On definition.
Brian did an evening class for us called Definition of Persons. Is that what it was?
Definition and registration of persons.
But man, if you're having motivational difficulty, not only don't join us on Tuesday, but when you're checking out one of these videos, like the one Brian and I just brought up, Definition for Registration Persons, that has, 100,000 views on it. But what can be motivational is just go through those comments. And we have victorious test takers commenting. And I think it can really be good for your spirit, lift your spirit a little bit if you're struggling. But that's a great one. That you'll find that in the playlist on the 63 as well. So another great video, Brian. We got to do some more of them. We keep talking about it. We got to get that on the schedule. But every time I say, Brian, you want to do something, he's in Maui or he's at a hockey game or he's,
sorry,
cutting down a redwood tree for his dry erase board. If you see the wood board, that means he's in the Northwest. If you see the chrome, that means Brian's in Las Vegas. Would you recommend studying the 6? No, it's a bad idea. Take each exam separately, respect it in and of itself. It's like, I'm going to slay 2 dragons, but I'm going to study, I'm going to work on trying to slay them both at the same time. It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. Failed 7 once, retake in 3 weeks. Get the 7 done. You listen, because if you fail that 7 again, that's going to really jam you up. So, get the 7 done, come back. Bad idea to flip flop. It's a terrible idea to flip flop. Now, sometimes it's necessary, right? If I didn't realize, Brian, I'm doing a class for a major insurance company, and the guy said he was going to wait 6 months to take the test. I go, why would you do that? That's, he goes, because I failed 3 times. I go, oh, well, that's a different, okay, now I get it.
Oh,
you're in purgatory, and so I said, how many of you guys are in purgatory? And they told me, I said, well, in that case, it would make some sense, right? But if you have 3 weeks out, just focus on getting that 7 damn victory behind you, right? 12 days from today. I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't. Now, assuming you pass, I'd keep it. I think 12 days could be adequate. What do you think, Brian? First, before Brian,
it looks like he's studying the 66.
Do you confirm with me?
30-day window.
Do you confirm that this is a bad idea?
Again, it looks like, because some employers say, hey, you failed the 7, you got to wait 30 days. You might as well work on the 66 while you wait for the 30 days. I think that's what he's talking about.
Well, always what the employer wants, but we're now 3 weeks away, right? So that's why I would not go with that. I mean, if we had 30 days, yeah, let's go knock out the 66. But if you got the 7 in 3 weeks, and I just don't like this timeline, right? So
I don't need it.
I mean, that's kind of weird, right? You got 3 weeks, and he's got 12 days. So what are you going to do? If you turn to on the 66, this is why it's a terrible idea, right? That chews up 12, so now you got 9 days for the 7. No, I would stick with your 7. And what does that mean? If I'm doing the timeline, Brian, does he have to reschedule the 66, which I'm never a big fan of, but in this case, I might. Yeah. So yeah, I don't like this at all.
Stay with the 7.
I'm with you. Hey, Matthew, thank you so much for joining us from LinkedIn. We broadcast to YouTube is our primary platform, Facebook and LinkedIn. So it always warms my heart when we see somebody joining us from LinkedIn or Facebook. Thanks for helping you pass. Woo! I didn't feel like the investment advisor didn't feel like that didn't have enough content on investment. Matthew, none of these tests are to give you a product knowledge to go into production. These are a rite of passage. Product knowledge comes from sales efforts, not taking these tests. These tests are a barrier to entry into the securities industry, right? So, if you tell me you want to learn this so well that you can go out and sell stuff, I say, no, that Matthew, get the thing passed. Then we'll go out with you with a trainer and we'll tell you how to sell these things and how to help you with their finances. Those are separate things, right? So I don't like that you are upset that you didn't learn enough. It's a great attitude, but that's not what these tests are about. And I think this is just me, Matthew. I think the CFA is a waste of time unless you're going to be a money manager or portfolio manager at a mutual fund company, or you're running a hedge fund or something like that. Even then, I think it's a waste of resources and time. I'm not a big CFA fan. If you're going to be retail, making contact with retail investors belly to belly, I would recommend a CFP. Would be more, I think, useful than a CFA, right? Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. These tests are not meant to teach you how to invest or to sell investments. They are nothing more than the gatekeeper of the industry. That's all they are.
I'm working on my 66 and having trouble with regulations. I think one thing Fund 7 you can do is change that to registrations, because it's about registrations. Exempt transactions are about securities that don't need to be registered, would otherwise need to be registered, but because of how we're selling them, do not need to be registered. Are there any mnemonics? No. I'll give Brian, I know it's to Brian, but before I turn it over to Brian, I like to think of this way, Brian, or Fund 7. Exempt securities are nouns. It's simply a laundry list of things that don't have to comply with either 33 or the Uniform Securities Act in terms of registration, right? If we're not registering the security, why? One answer, exempt. I think of an exempt transaction as a verb. It's the way I'm selling it. Think here, Reg D, private placement, or on the Uniform Securities Act, 10 offers, right? So that's what's making it exempt. Now, in the day, Brian, I was a senior instructor at Kaplan. And when I'd be training the new guy, he'd say, I thought we were supposed to wear a blazer and a tie. I said, we are. He said, well, you're not doing that. I said, well, I'm exempt from that. I don't have to wear blazers and ties. He said, well, do I? I say, yes, unless it's an exempt transaction. I don't wear a tie or blazer anytime. If it's 115 degrees in Phoenix, we can ditch the tie. It's that particular isolated place where the blazer and the tie is not necessary, right? So I don't know a memory aid, Brian. Do you have a memory aid for this kind of thing?
You're absolutely right. There's not a mnemonic that you can remember, but I think visually, because I have a list of the exempt securities, the nouns, as Dean says, and then on the other side, a list of the exempt transactions, the verbs, the actions. So visually, you can see them separated. One are simply exempt securities. The other one is selling non-exempt securities that are unregistered.
Yeah.
But visually, you can see it. And that's how I do it. I visually separate them. I show you examples of them. On the 66, you can get 2 or 3 of these questions.
I was just going to say that. How many people get in the weeds on this, Brian? So on the registration part of 65 and 66, it's how do we register a security? If not, why not? How do we register a broker-dealer? If not, why not? How do we register an agent? If not, why not? How do we register an investment advisor? If not, why not? How do we register an investment advisor rep? If not, why not? The vast majority of those questions, and people get so in the weeds at Fund 7 on exempt transaction securities, as Brian said, 2 or 3, the vast majority of those questions are going to be about investment advisors and investment advisor reps. Yeah, 3 or 4 broker dealers and agents, broker dealers, and securities. Now in the 63s, that was 65, 66, it's a reverse. The vast majority of registration questions are going to be about broker dealers and agents, broker dealers. So I think a big thing I always recommend Fund 7 is change regulations to registrations. On your test specifications from NASA and your vendors, they call that laws and regulations, but it really should be called laws and registrations is what that should be called. Would you recommend staying? No, I think we just had this one. Is this another different person? Well, I think we answered your local. Now, I guess you put it back in the chat again, thinking you're going to get there. No, I think we answered that. But by the way, we may be running behind, but we'll get to you. So, I think we answered that one. Just to review, terrible idea. I don't like anything about this post. I don't like the timeline. I don't like what's going on in this thing. So you need to do something. I don't know what that something is, but I don't think you should flip-flop and be studying for 2 exams at the same time. Take the 65 next Monday. I've knocked out. Wow, Jose, that's crazy. And my average, wow, 1 week left. Actually, I like the taper. I'm glad you brought that up, right? So this is Tuesday. How do you handle the taper? I don't know. I think I might recommend going on my channel and doing a different practice exam you haven't seen, whether it's Test Geek or Kaplan or, Notman. Go to that playlist and pick out a one to watch and maybe do that, because it looks like you're running out of ammunition here and you still, 7 days out, a week out. So I would highly consider, investing with Brian $100 or at least the $20 you can get his PDF on the practice, get some more questions. And then Brian, I think, has an addendum. Do you have an addendum with some extra questions, Brian, or is it just?
I do. Yeah, for the 65. Yeah.
How many questions would they get if they?
There's 113 on that one, in addition to the 130 on the practice file.
So maybe consider getting some more ammunition here. So you don't want to run out of ammunition with that far out. And then taper. I like your taper question. I would like you to just be, keeping it fresh, review, keep it low key. You're right where you need to be. In fact, I might even say, call them and say if somebody drops, you'll take their date. It's like a flight where if somebody cancels, you might get their seat. So maybe test early. 66 on Friday, averaging 78. Man, we got some people, Brian. They're killing it.
They're doing
I got
well.
a 63. Well, in variance, that's not a big, just do another one. Yeah, well, don't let it. What you need to do is, Steph, is get back on that horse, take another practice exam, and get that 63 out of your system. So I just told you what to do. When you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, go do another one and see if that pops back up. That happens. And, we just want to see if that's something that we need to worry about, or if it just happened to be a bad draw. Right. What was it? So get it out of your system as soon as possible. This is Tuesday. Do one tomorrow morning. See if that score pops back up, right? So, but confidence is key. You can't let anything destroy your confidence. You got to be confident in the execution of your study plan, confident in yourself, and most importantly, on Friday, you got to be confident in your answers. Steph, many people get 63s testing the next day and still pass. Your glass is more than half full with that score, but we'd like to get that out of the system. Your thought on that one, Brian?
Absolutely. Yeah. With those kind of scores, 78 is the average.
Mm-hmm.
You know, within an average, you're going to have some low ones. You're going to have some high ones. It's the average that I always look at. It's the average that you're going to be scoring within some range of that average.
Ooh, so, test term. I love that. You just used a test term, the range.
So knock out that 63. The average 78 is doing very
good.
well.
No need, Steph, not be confident. Thank you. More money. I like that. There we go. Woo! I think we already answered this question. Maybe I'm screwing up on my things.
No, that looks like, yeah, that's the same one. Different avatar.
Notman Mark, Sawana is a great vendor. I love him. Getting confused about everything. What do you recommend watching on your videos to help connect some dots? Well, the 63 playlist, I think we got asked one earlier. I would highly recommend the Mighty 90 on the Uniform Securities Act. And I would also recommend definitions of persons, I think, and we called it registrations. Both of those are in the playlist for the 63. You have plenty of time to go through the 63 playlist. There's more than those videos, but those are two good ones. So go to that 63 playlist and go through it. There's some practice exams. There's enough content there to help you pass with or without Notman. Don't tell him I said that because Brian Marcus, I like him. He's a great guy. But you could. I have enough content on the channel for 63 that you can pass. 2 hours ago. Woo!
Yeah, I like these.
Wow. Well, listen. I don't know why you wouldn't want to take Brian and I's word about the exam, but we have a victorious test taker in the house. So maybe they'll stick around. If you got any questions, you can put them in the chat. Thanks. By the way, victorious test takers are always welcome here every Tuesday. We appreciate it because I'll tell you what, it can be a real morale booster for somebody out there struggling to know that, yes, many people go down there and they slay this dragon. More people slay the dragon than not. And so I love it when people like yourself pop by on a Tuesday. You'll pass for sure. Again, we said that confidence right on. Next Monday, I think I don't know why we're getting doubles.
Yeah, he's repeating. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's my software system. I thought they've been getting glitchy on me. Just passed my 66 Friday. Woo! Studying for New York Life and Health. I'll miss your next podcast. Well, that's okay. Listen, there are things that are more important than this podcast, and there are things that are more important than these exams. So, don't forget, keep your priorities in place, right? I think you're going to miss it permanently. Okay, now I'm reading that as like I'm not going to see you again, JBD. But hey, that's the nature of what Brian and I do. It's always melancholy when we lose people, but we come into your life for a reason and the season, right? The reason is to help you matriculate through your exams, and the season is how long that takes. So it looks like our reason and our season is coming to a close. All right, General Securities Principal in the house. Yeah, I don't think I go overboard. I have some 24 content for you, Mad Marlo, and I really think I overkill the margin. On my 24 playlist, I have a tutoring replay a margin. I also have a margin lecture for the 24. I think it's too much, but too much is better than not enough. I think it's lightly tested. I would definitely make sure debit by 0.75, market value maintenance, credit by 1.3. That's market value maintenance short, 25, 30. I would definitely know the $2,000 trick for a new account. I definitely know the documentation. I know the loan consent form is not required. Now, I just told you 2 or 3, and I just rattled off 7 or 8, but we don't really know what you're going to get. I put it this way. If you tell me you missed your mark on the 24 because of margin, I'm going to say, you had bigger problems somewhere. Usually trading and banking is what you have to pull up.
That's it, yeah.
Right? To those who have failed, it's not over till you quit. Right on. Pass the 6 SIM third attempt. Love it. 7th third attempt. That is the attitude. And there are so many people in our business who have had the misfortune of missing their mark. And I get excited when people pass that third time because you not only pass the SIE, you actually pass the more important test of your resiliency. I used to have a broker go out and say, if anybody knows this stuff, Brian, it's me because I took the test 5 times. I'm not suggesting you take the test 5 times, but people invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you can pass the test. When we used to give scores, Nick, I'm serious. When we used to give scores, if you got over 90 on an exam, I'd say, Nick, I think I should fire you now. You say, why? So, well, 2 reasons. One, you just proven you're a bigger jerk as the person who wrote the test. And I'm going to spend more time with you in the office than I've spent with my family, and I don't want to spend time with people that. Secondly, I'm supposed to supervise you. Now, how am I going to supervise you? You're smarter than me. You're always going 1 step ahead. I think I should just get rid of you now. So I'm not suggesting that's the way to go, but kudos for sucking it up. 68. Woo, retesting soon, but I'm still struggling to apply my answer question. Any recommendations? Well, I would say a couple things here. Make sure you go to the SIE FINRA website, get the SIE content outline, and go through that and see if there's an area where your knowledge, you have a knowledge gap. Usually 68 is not a knowledge-based deficit problem. It's some other problem, testing problems. But I'd recommend that. And then you also want to do, some more practice tests. And you want to do the SIE one for sure if you haven't done it. I have an SIE playlist, but we want to get some intellectual inventories. Don't know what you were scoring on your practice test previous to this misfortune, but it'd be interesting to know that and make sure we get everything overlearned. Your weak areas, your strong areas, so you can take down any draw. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, let's again back up to what you said. There may be some testing errors. You missed it by 1 question, right? A 68 on the SIE means you missed it by 1 question. Usually it's the investment products and risks section.
That's the biggest one. 33 questions.
That area. Don't change answers when you're finished the exam. And don't overanalyze them. Take them as
when anybody's close like yourself, Lisbeth. Usually that's one of the first things we ask. Did you change answers? Your flash response is your best response. If you want to model good test behavior, watch those game shows. When it's a winner on the game show, they answer quickly and they say, is that your final answer? A good test taker says, yeah, that's my final answer. Your flash response, you should only change answers if you know you got it wrong and you know what the right answer is. Very rarely will you meet both parameters. Got to meet both. I know I got it wrong. And then you know that, oh, I know what the right answer is. Otherwise, you leave it alone. Now, I'm also not a fan, and we don't know where this issue is. We're looking for the thing that isn't, you didn't know this stuff, because, by the way, that's why most people re-sponsor you. SIE doesn't require, but in a 7, it's because they know you did the work. For whatever reason, you missed the mark, but you did the work. But that being said, the other thing I would tell you is that don't create, I'm not a fan, best practice-wise, according to Dean, of not just answering and being done with it, and not moving forward, matriculating without creating that basket of questions you want to go back to. I'm not a big fan of the basket where you say you want to look at it again, because then you fall more prey to that. Now, if this was a written test, it's not. If it was pen and paper, I'd say, yeah, skip some, leave them blank, come back to them, but you can't do that on this exam, right? So I'm a big believer in matriculating through each and every question and being done with it. Your thoughts, Brian, on creating that subset of things you want to go back and look at?
Yeah, I usually do. That gave me the hardest time.
Yeah.
And every single time I went back and reviewed it, I said to myself, these are ugly the second time as they were the first time. I'm done. Boom. And I never changed.
That's the right attitude. That's the right attitude. Passed the SI 2 weeks ago. Woo! I do not have my 7. Any recommendations? Well, I like it. You're showing initiative. I would just tell you you're 66, and you probably already know this doesn't work without a 7. So, if you take a 65, there is no co-requisite. And you might be able to get a job at a investment advisory firm that's fee-based only, like Fisher Investments, for example. And you can take the 63 unsponsored, and now you have the equivalent of a 66. So, just something to consider, that you can actually go looking for a position without a co-requisite if you take the 65. At 66, you need the 7. I like both things. I like that you're showing the initiative. I think, Chris, if it comes between you and a tie with some other human capital, and I say, okay, well, Brian, I think the equivalent in every way for Chris, but Chris has an SIE and a 66. I'm going with Chris. So I do think it's good to have that on your resume. But just know that you need that 7. So, all right, George, another LinkedIn. I appreciate your tips. You're always welcome. We hope that's what we're here for. Tips, tricks, and memory aids. Now, I would say, Georgia, though, people get really excited about my tips, tricks, and memory aids, like Too Long to Be Wrong and the Sesame Street trick, and but I at some point have to remind them we want to learn the information. Right? So we would hope that we aren't dependent on tips, tricks, and memory aids, that we actually can do that. I'm a big Notman fan. I told you Notman is, I consider, a white glove provider. They charge a premium for their content and access to their instructors, but I think they justify that value add. So I've got nothing bad to say about Notman. I don't like that it's not Notman Marks, which it really is, because Brian Marks Notman retired. And, if I were Brian, I'd probably change it to Marks. But, all good people. Marcia Burek is over there. Did you know Marcia? You think you know Marcia, right?
I knew her very well.
Yeah. So, they suck up a lot of good talent elsewhere, too. So Marcia Burek is somebody who worked with Brian and I for many years. She's over there. So I think they're a fine firm.
She's phenomenal.
Well, yeah, I'm with you, Nick. So if you like my content, I would tell you to watch the Mighty 90. I tell stories. I get grief from people saying, "Oh, you tell a bunch of stories." I think it's easier to remember the content with a story than it is the content itself. So check out my 63 playlist and that Mighty 90, and I tell lots of stories about Rule 147 offerings I've been involved in, and Reg D offerings I've been involved in. When I got arrested. No, I'm joking. I never got arrested. 60, would you recommend the 66 or the 65? That's a tough one. Again, we're assuming you have your 7. I would go 66 because it's less questions, and I like doing less rather than more. What do you think, Brian?
I'm going to assume, because these, again, don't require any sponsorship, so they're probably doing all these on their own. Without any of the 7 behind them, I think the 66 is a tough go. They're both tough.
Yeah.
But like you said, the 65
I didn't think that. I thought you already had a 7. So right? I thought Jack already had a 7. But now you mentioned that, Brian. If he doesn't have a 7, then I think you should go 65.
Because that gives him a job tomorrow, potentially, right?
Yeah, I like it. By the way, Plan B. I'm so happy with this Plan B. It should be a Plan B, not Plan A. Plan A is SIE 766. Yeah. But if you miss the 66 and you don't want to wait 30 days, you can go take a 63, 65. There's so much overlap that I had a guy, Vince, who, I spent enough time with, and I knew that he knew the content. I said, I think you could take that thing tomorrow and pass it. It's got some more economics on 65. Take the 63 like the 2 days later, and you're back in business. And that's what he did. I had today somebody who executed the first leg of what I call Plan B. She missed her 66. She went and she passed her 65, and now she just has her 63. So I told her, I gave her kudos on Plan B. That shouldn't be a Plan A, but as a Plan B, I think it's pretty good. Yeah. Georgia, I'm going to have a video up pretty quickly on Slobs Over Bliss. I'm trying to find a good question to go over. And the question, Georgia, came up with a tutoring session. It was a great question, but I can't find it anymore. So I'm going to ask them to send it to me. But the question was, the current market price of the stock is 47. And it pays a 12-cent dividend. And what I liked about it is it was testing on lots of things. First thing, and when I'm going to make this video, maybe, what I'm just going to hit right here, Brian. Maybe we'll make the video on the fly, Georgia, right now. So anyways, this particular question, I like, Brian said, the current market value is 47. It's paying a 12-cent dividend. Now, one thing we should know is that the company, if it was worth 47 with that cash in that corporate shell, and now that is going to be distributed to the shareholders, we would expect that to open up at 46.88 the next day. And so it said certain orders will be adjusted. And the idea here is you wouldn't want your order below the market, Georgia, to be triggered as a result of the X date. And so then what I loved about this question, Georgia, is it said, which of the following orders would be adjusted? Choice A was a buy stop. Well, if we had a buy stop at 50, there's no way that it could accidentally be triggered because of the drop from the X date. And then we had a sell stop, or excuse me, a buy stop and we had a sell limit. And then what I loved is this was a good example where this memory aid becomes helpful. And what we were looking for was the choice D, a sell stop. It was a sell stop at 46 that would be adjusted. And it was testing on two things. It said certain orders would be adjusted, which means you need to know that that would be orders below the market. Then you would apply slobs over bliss to get that answer. It's the sell stop at 46. So yeah, I like that. That's where slobs and bliss comes in. Every time I think that's been exhausted as a way to get questions right, somebody run into a question, oh, slobs and bliss would have worked on that. One more point here. If you don't want me to do that, Georgia, maybe you travel a lot or whatever, you can say DNR. DNR means do not resuscitate. No. DNR means do not reduce. So when I was traveling a lot, I would just tell my broker, don't mess with my orders. In my own mind, I know it's a sell stop at 46. Leave it alone. Right. So there you go. Which one? I have lots of videos, Georgia. Just put into the search bar, slobs over bliss or types of orders. I have entire lectures. I have little questions like this. I'll put up this whiteboard video clip with Brian in his whiteboard. I love when he has his whiteboard. What would you add?
This is a Series 7 question, right? The adjustments.
The person who, this is like options. So Georgia, here we go again with this discussion. Do you get questions on types of orders on 65?
Yes.
The answer is yes, but oh my God, it's like options. How much time do you want to devote to it? But on 7, most certainly. I had a guy at 7. We were trying to identify areas of remediation, and good news, he was great on munis and mutual funds and all that stuff. I said, okay, well here, and it was margin and type of orders. I go, well, now that's an easy decision. Types of orders, buy stops, sell stops, market orders, limit orders, fill or kill, all or none, all that stuff. So I have entire lectures as well as individual questions you can, like we did here today. Brian, any other comments on that?
No, you're absolutely right. The 65, this is one of the top 3 questions I always get in the emails are the slobs and bliss. The other one's, of course, the options, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many other areas that you can really focus on. I have a little kind of supplement cheat sheet for slobs and bliss with some practice questions on them. But I just don't spend a lot of time on it. There's just so many other things that you really.
It's hard to make those editorial decisions. So
it is.
Make sure, like I said, I don't know, Georgia, if you want to join the weekly Q&A jam session on my booking page, it's free for everybody. And then I'll have a whiteboard like Brian's, and we can go over that again. But also, maybe I can find that question by then. I thought it was a really good question in terms of illustrating why this is important and how it gets tested.
Right.
Well, now that is a serious testing victory. That 10 is a real slog. I think 10s and 65s. Now, I don't want to jinx you, but the 9 should be a breeze compared to the 10. Yeah. So kudos. You're almost a sales supervisor, branch office manager. I was telling Brian that Kaplan wants to hire my LLC, which is me, to refresh their 9 and 10 content. And I haven't decided yet, Lily, if I'm going to. Well, you usually said you like my videos, so part of me says, yeah, I would like to help them refresh that. But then the other part of me goes, oh my God, I don't want to spend 100 hours. And I love, as much as I love my friends at Kaplan, I'm sure it's like any corporation. There's just a lot of people. The guy who was the senior person asked me to do this. I said, how come this stuff takes so long? That's long a road to get things done. So anyways, maybe. And then I asked him, Brian, I said, hey, if I do it, because I'm on the fence about what I'm going to do it for you or not. I said, do I get my name in there? Like refreshed by, Series 7 Guru? He goes, we don't do that. I said, well, I know, but I thought I'd ask. If you did, I might be more likely to do it for you. But kudos, though. That's a great victory there. That's one of my favorite victories. Struggling with registration and exemptions. Well, Robert, I don't know if you're coming late. We just did a whole kind of little segment on this. Registration is about registering a security, a broker-dealer, an agent of a broker-dealer, an investment advisor rep. Right now, of those on your 63, the big one is the bigger of that is going to be registering the security. If not, why not? That means exempt securities and exempt transactions. And then registering a broker-dealer, if not, why not, an agent of the broker-dealer. I think the registration of the broker-dealer in 63 is pretty straightforward. No office, no retail, no register. The flip side of that would be you have an office, you have a retail client, the broker dealer has to be registered. Same thing with an agent. Agents have to be registered. You can't conduct business. There's no de minimis. If you have one retail client in a state, you have to register in the state, and you as an agent can't do so unless your broker dealer is, right? So that's that part of it. And then the registration of the security is going to be either through qualification or coordination. If we're doing an SEC registration under 33, we use coordination, known as Blue Sky, coordinate with that state administrator. If it's Rule 147, for example, an exempt transaction under 33, but not the Uniform Securities Act, we use qualification. So if we didn't register that security through coordination or qualification, we better have a good reason with the state administrator why not. Here's some good ones. It's a federally covered security. It's an exempt security. It's an exempt transaction. Now, in 63 is one of the few exams, Robert, where I say this. You just got to exhaust that Q bank and do a gazillion practice questions on this to get that 63. And it shouldn't take you more than a week and a half to get this done. Your thoughts on 63, Brian?
Absolutely. Your video on registration.
Yeah, Robert suggested 2 great videos for you. My Mighty 90 on the Uniform Securities Act, which covers the entire 63 in 90 minutes. I'm proud of that video because I think I cover every base there on the 63. Not 65, 66, but still great for those exams. And then Brian did a video that people find extremely helpful. That's on the site. It was an evening class we did called Definitions of Persons. I think in registrations. I'll put it in the channel search bar.
Definitions and registration of persons.
There we go. So check out those 2 for sure. But my 63 playlist, I think, is pretty thorough. I mean, if you have time to do that, I know when you're testing, watch that whole playlist. We got practice exams, we got lectures, we got those videos that Brian and I highlighted for you. Did a big bet where it's past the 65. I work at a hybrid firm. I don't even know what a hybrid firm is, Delighted Bond. I'm not sure. Does that mean a firm that has a holding company, owns a broker dealer and a investment advisor? That's not what we call a hybrid firm. We call that holding company. That's 2 subsidiaries. So now I need the SIE 763. There you go. So now you're on the broker dealer side. So on the 65, you are on the investment advisory side. Now you're on the broker dealer side. How does the SIE compare? Oh, much easier. Way easier. Well, I'll say this. If you fail the SIE, it's going to be very embarrassing because everybody in the office is going, what? You passed a 65? And miss the mark. Now, that means give it respect, though. Don't get hubris. Don't get hubris. How much time do you need? I don't know. Let's see. When did you take your 65? If that was like last week, I'd test this week. Read the whole book. And Brian, I am never going to tell you not to read the whole book cover to cover. Right? That's what you should do. So, yes, you should read the book cover to cover. Brian, how much time do you think this guy, gal?
I was thinking after passing the 65.
Not a lot, right?
No more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks. Yeah, if I were your person in the office, I'd be kind of encouraging you to hey, go. How about next week, right? I just found your page. I'm taking the 6 next Friday. I don't feel I'm ready yet. Do you have any recommendations? Well, boy, we hate, the difference in tragedy and comedy is timing. And you're reaching out to us in Act 5, Scene, 6. I mean, that's kind of difficult. Like to hear from you in Act 1, Scene 1, but oh well, it is what it is. We don't have enough data to answer your question. I would like to know what your practice test scores are, how many you've done. I'd like to know your test prep vendor. So we don't know where you're at to answer this, right? So I don't feel like you're ready yet. That's a subjective comment. What we would like to have is data that supports that you're not ready. So let me tell you, the data would suggest you're not ready. You're below 60 on practice tests. That means you're not ready. You don't have enough knowledge base. So give us some more data, and then we can give you some recommendations. I would say we need to know a practice test. So, you can't prepare yourself between Tuesday and Friday. You have to have some of this done already. Otherwise, you need to reschedule, even though I'm not a big fan of that. So I would more data from you, Jonathan. Your thoughts on this one, Brian?
Absolutely, yeah. There's not much we can say. Why aren't you ready?
What's that?
I'm saying why are they not ready?
Yeah, we need data. We need data. We can't have Here's an example, Jonathan, where I know, Brian, if you get this, I don't understand it. I said, well, I don't know. Wait, that's a ghost. What don't you understand? Right? You gotta get something that, or somewhere in the book, there's a question that goes something like, I go, what page number, what paragraph number? Right. So you gotta try and hammer down a little bit. So we're being a kind of, I don't want to sound like a jerk, Jonathan, but we need some objective facts, not subjective things, right? Not about, I hate to say this, not about your feelings. What does the data say, right? I missed passing by 3 questions. Yuck, 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 yuck. The night before the exam, I reviewed some practice questions, but they didn't seem very familiar with what's actually on the test. Is there anything you recommend? Well, again, I wouldn't want you the night before reviewing practice questions. I don't think that's best practice. I mean, because of what you just said, that there's no upside to that. What you would want to be doing is getting a good night's rest and be doing low-key stuff, maybe reviewing your notes, watch a low-key video. But I don't even recommend doing anything the night before except getting sleep, right? So what I recommend is that we overlearn it. We go back and I have 5 recommendations for the misfortune. It's a podcast episode. You can find it in the video description, and it goes over my 5 things. But while the hurt is fresh, go get the FINRA NASAA content outline and do an intellectual inventory debrief with yourself about where you think you missed the mark, right? Hopefully you're going to find an area, a honey hole, a target-rich environment that with remediation you can bring into that passing range. But remember, every draw is different. These scores are kind of exasperating because it means, again, you probably have some good knowledge base, but maybe it's some test anxiety, maybe it's something else. I just don't like the comment they didn't seem similar to what's on the test, because that's not a place we want to be the night before the exam and even after we test. So, I don't know. And I don't know who your vendor is. Brian, your thoughts on this one? Another challenging one.
Yeah. Practice finals, simulated exams. What's the FINRA exam score? How'd you do on that? Did you pass that one? Yeah.
Another one with more data. We need more data, Brenda. Yeah. More data. Woo!
3 weeks. Nice job.
I love it. Yeah, that's an accelerated hat trick in the making. You got one more for the hat trick. I think we've answered a 63 question 2 or 3 times. But again, go to my 63 playlist. It has enough content to pass the entire 63. There's everything you need there. 2 videos that Brian I've highlighted from that list is his video he made for us called Definitions of Registrations of Persons, My Mighty 90 on the Uniform Securities Act. I think you're going to be in good shape. And then we both agree this should not be. So listen, if you got this in 3 weeks, there's no reason to not make this a week. Don't turn the 63 into something it is not. And I see a lot of people, Ryan, who say, oh, I spent 4 weeks on the SIE, 6 weeks on the 7. I'm going to spend 8 weeks on the 63. I go, are you nuts? A week and a half max. I'm taking the 60 SIE 3rd time, 15 days. Okay, Christian. I don't know what to do to be prepared. We're getting a lot of vague questions, and we would love to help you, but we need more data. You're never going to be prepared 100%. That's the nature of the beast, right? You go in to slay the dragon, you're never going to feel like the dragon is mine. I mean, you shouldn't feel that. But what I would say is we need more data again. It's the 3rd time. I'd like to know what you scored the 1st time. I'd like to know what you scored the 2nd time. I wanted to say, hey, Christian, did you think of the 2nd time you were going to make it? You were surprised you hit the button. You didn't. Were there things you felt you weren't prepared for? We just need a lot more information. Christian, if join me in my Q&A jam session, and I'd be more than happy to get the data together, and I'd be more than happy to kind of go over this with you in depth, but we need more information. Your thing,
simulated exams and the remediation, right? Yep. Do the performance tracker, find your weak areas, remediate the weak areas. Take a simulated exam, run the performance tracker, work on the weak areas. Take a simulated exam, run the performance tracker, work on the weak areas. That's how you bring that score up.
That's right.
Find out where the weak areas.
We don't even know a score, but I don't think you should be, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Right. So, I'll bring Christian a guy up. His name was Nico. Nico was taking a 65. And he missed the mark twice. And I got to tell you, Kristen, talk about change in a course of direction. Repent means changing your course of action. My God, Brian, I don't know what he did. There's a switch that flipped in his head. Next time I showed up, he had his own whiteboard. And he was saying, Dean, let me show you how I'm going to do this and how I'm going to do that. And I thought, wow. I think Christian, that was the one of the few students I've ever said, man, he is 100% prepared. And part of that comes from the misfortune of missing the mark. So I don't think 100%. Remember, pass, fail, right? So I just worry about you trying to get 100% prepared. You got to put in the work. We don't know what the work was on the first 2 attempts, so it's hard to take corrective action. I love it. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. As I say, I always warms my heart when we get people joining us from LinkedIn and Facebook because our primary platform is YouTube. Woohoo. There we go, Jamie. So thank you so much. Christian, how spot on is this morale booster? So Jamie said she took it the first time, took her 3 times. I think you are on your 3rd time, Christian. We had a couple on the 3rd time. It took me 3 times. Oh, SIE got the first time, 3 times on the 7, which I did yesterday. Wow. I love that, Jamie. As I say, what turns me on about that is she has not only passed. I'm assuming, Jamie, you're the front person there in that picture. What turns me on about that is that you have passed not only your Series 7, not only do you slay that Series 7 dragon, you have passed, even more importantly, a test of your resiliency. And I know, Brian, when we had people working for us, I could almost bet on my people who are challenged and rose to that, got to overcome that misfortune, but they got registered because I don't know if you're going to be in the public contact part of our broker-dealer, the business unit, the front of the house, making contact. But if you are, boy, it also says you're going to do well in sales because now we know how you handle rejection, you overcome it, right? So right on. Love it. Well, we got a lot of 63s tonight. What's up with the 63 tonight? Cuba, I feel like I'm only getting easier questions right now. Well, listen, any advice? Rinse and repeat, Robert. We've had you. We had Olivia. I forget if she was taking. I think she was taking some other exam. But you shouldn't second guess yourself. This is where we would want you to be. So exactly. This is again your own psyche that we said so important. When we were talking to people about being vague, part of that is a psyche issue as well, right? We don't have any data. You have data that suggests there's no reason for you to be making up problems you don't have, right? So again, I feel like, I think I'm going to start banning. So Brian knows, Robert, that I ban the use of question marks in my chat when I'm teaching class. I tell people they can't use question marks. They got to put an exclamation point. I will know it's a question and answer it. And a lot of times the question they're asking, I ask them to put in an answer and they're right about it. So now I think, Brian, what do you think? I think we should ban the use of I feel like. No more I feel like. Let's go with data. Yes. Why do you? I guess I feel like we're going to be a therapist tonight. What makes you feel that way, Robert? But in your case,
77 is pretty strong.
Yeah, you have data that suggests that we're okay, right? So no worries. So listen, Robert, you got to give yourself some grace, right? And that's my advice. Give yourself some grace. I mean, those scores reflect you're putting in the work. Those scores reflect you're dedicated, you're disciplined, you're organized. So, don't beat yourself up. Let the test do that. For Bill, I passed my SIO. Again, I don't know what's going on tonight. Yeah, well, tomorrow, yeah. Usually it's a question about is the crypto being sold as a medium of exchange or an investment? If it's an investment, then it needs to be registered. Stick with the plan, Jamie. So glad you're here tonight. You are welcome. I think it's about time, Brian.
Let's do it.
How close are like? I told you this is, again, fool's gold, Seth, to think about past perfect or not in terms of how the actual exams are. You should be focused on learning the content and the concepts, and that test prep vendor, Serify, is past perfect, is adequate to the task at hand. If you tell me you missed the mark because the questions didn't reflect the exam, I'm going to say, well, you had bigger problems. It's fool's gold to be picking a test prep vendor based on their questions being similar to the actual exam. So Brian and I were just talking about, some people say STC, Brian and I say Kaplan. Some people say Knopman Marks. Some people say Test Geek. I'm in the Test Geek category, right? And again, I just don't think it's something that's worthwhile. I would say Past Perfect goes in the weeds a lot more than the actual test. So I would say that. It's Past Masters. Yeah, I don't know enough to answer that, Barracuda, but Susie seems reasonable. I've seen some of her videos. I haven't heard any bad things about her, but I'm not as familiar with her as to give that. But what I've seen seems okay. I mean, I'll say it this way, the same way I always say. If you tell me you missed the mark because of Past Masters, I'm going to say, no, that's on you. That's not on Susie. In my post where there was connection issues. Okay, well, no worries. Then apply for a job at a 7. Okay, perfect. I take my SIE tomorrow. Why are you doing here? Go get some sleep. I'm joking. No, don't. Yeah, final words of wisdom is close the damn book and close up the content outline. It's time to go to bed and dream of passing. Oh, I can't wait till I pass tomorrow. Woohoo! Right? You shouldn't be here. I am. I'm not sure what.
Very much so.
What you want to know?
There aren't too many firms we're not familiar with.
Yeah. I'm doing a New York Life class. The partner there is a great guy. I like companies like me. I don't know. I'm familiar with Northwestern. I'm more familiar with New York Life than I am Northwestern. But I like the culture. There's people that have been there a long time. They certainly have a process of getting you up and running and getting you through your exams, matriculation wise. And so most of the men and women I met in New York Life are quality people.
Yeah, both firms are very strong. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that might have been RJ, who was the partner at New York Life. On spots expired, go fresh up. Yeah, there you go. Again, we've answered this question. We got to get to our drawing here, but my thing is attention is go for a 7. I particularly think if you don't have a 7, a 65 is the way to go, because that is something that can be used without a 7. The 66 has a co-requisite of the 7. But if you know you're going down the road to a 7, then go get the 66. It's 100 questions. It's easier in terms of number of performance opportunities. Holding out for 7. There you go. I like it. You're being offered 663, 65. I think any job is better than no job. So I'm of the inclination to say, get in the business and then work on getting a 7. So if somebody's going to help me and I can get my foot in the door, I'm going to do it. There we go. I don't know why my thing is repeating tonight. It seems like I'm getting a lot of repeats. Best current in SIE materials. Brenda, of course, I'm going to ask Kaplan, but I got a Guru 15 discount code. I received compensation for sales using that code. So, and I wouldn't use the code if I didn't think it was the best out there. So my answer is Kaplan, but they're all good vendors. Okay, Brian, I guess it's that time. Let's just see here real quick if I can finish this up. There we go. Any recommendations? Well, we're getting this a lot. I don't know what your scores were. Wakeyetta. I hope I'm doing that right. If I'm not, I apologize. I don't know what Unit 5 is because I don't know what test prep vendor you're using. So help me out on that. Last minute tips. Again, Big Gucci. I don't know why people are here when they should be getting some rest. So it's right now. It's 6:18 Pacific time. I know what time zone you're on, but last minute tips is get some rest. You need your reading skills to be in top form tomorrow. There you go. You are welcome. Cool. We love that. All right. I think I'm going to make it to the end here, Brian, pretty quickly. Okay. Struggling with options. Well, I have an entire options playlist. It's at like 200 videos. The first 4 are very important. So go to my options playlist, watch those first 4 videos. I think that will help you immensely.
Yes, it will. And just in case, I have a separate video course just on options.
There you go. And as I said, Brian's great on distillation.
Both of them.
Yeah, and good news about work. One of the reasons Brian and I work together is because we know that we may say things a little differently, but in general, we're on the same page. So if you were watching my videos and bought Brian's option course, it wouldn't freak you out, or vice versa. There are lots of people, Brian, as we know, who think they have shortcuts to do options. And I love it when they shortcut doesn't work and then they say, well, don't worry about it. So Brian and I believe that if you can, understanding options is going to be beneficial because, memorize. I always joke, if you don't understand them, That's okay. But then the things you have to memorize is going to continue to compound on you. There we go. I think I don't know what's going on with my system here. I'm so upset with these guys. They doubled the price of my software, and I have more problems than I ever had but before this firm was acquired. All right, love it. Man, that's joy. Crazy good, crazy good. And I follow up a video. I have all kinds of margin. Put SMA in the channel search bar. All kinds of videos will come up, and then watch my margin lecture. It's called Don't Overdose on Margin. I think anytime you spend on SMA is time better spent elsewhere. Yes, but again, I'm more than happy to do that. There's already a video there for you. So check out what I have. Comment on that video, Henry. Put SMA in the channel search bar. If that doesn't do it for you, doesn't float your boat, put the comment in that video, and just as you did here, and I'll make another SMA video. Okay, Brian. Ooh, we have them every Tuesday, Seth. Every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Okay, it's time for our drawing. So let me go get the Wheel of Fortune. Do not put into the Wheel of Fortune, the drawing, what Brian puts on the dry erase board until I tell you that it's okay, because it won't pick it up. You're going to put what Brian puts on the board into the chat, and then I'm going to spin the wheel. And as I said, what you win is the coaching call on the class tab at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. So let me get that banner up there. Boom. Okay, Brian, I'm ready for you. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I just accidentally killed it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, I like it. He's so on target. Daylight. So I imagine that's daylight savings times you're referencing.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so now let me put up the Wheel of Fortune. You can now put that into the chat. And boom. There we go. If you'd like to participate while you're doing that, I will go back to our comment page and see if I can pick up a couple more comments while you're doing it. Daylight. You're the man. My father-in-law is from Nicaragua. Oh, boy. I'm going to Nicaragua in January to visit the Perdomo factory. This is a My Father cigar. Well, they make La Roma, a lot of stuff, but I'm going to Nicaragua to visit the Perdomo factory in January of next year. So that should be fun. I've been to Nicaragua before. I've been there for, I was in Managua. So let's see, where was that? Let's see. What happened to there we go. Yeah, I think Nicaraguan cigars, Matthew, are better than Cuban cigars. Don't get me wrong, I smoked a Cuban last Tuesday. I'm drinking Cuban rum. But because of the government, their need for currency, they don't, you can't really make an artisan cigar anymore because, they're not going to wait 10 years while you ferment tobacco. So the Cubans that left and went to Nicaragua, I think they're on the whole better cigars. But the other my favorite story is when the revolution in Cuba, when Che went to the Bacardi family. You can't liquidate the Bacardi family because they're legendary patriots of Cuba. And he said, hey, you can stay and be in charge of the rum industry. And I'm drinking a Havana Club tonight and keep a mansion, 80 grand a year, or you can leave. And a lot of the Cubans went to Nicaragua or Honduras or Costa Rica. But Bacardi said he's going to Puerto Rico. He's going to a Commonwealth of the United States. So nobody can ever take his factory from him again. I use Past Perfect. I told you Past Perfect gets you in the weeds a little bit, but I hope you use my discount code because remember that means you can join me for office hours. All right, here we go. We're doing the drawing. Boom. All right, Lisbeth, go to the deantenneytutoring.setmore.com class tab, and you'll see the coaching call tab, and just hit that. And then I'll show up at that date and time, and you'll get a Zoom link, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about in terms of your exam. All right. Well, let's go back to Brian and I. I always say inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. And Brian, you say?
Got to learn to keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
Woo-hoo! All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Well, that's unless Brian's going to, some other adventure.
No, I'll be here.
All right. I'll see you then, guys. And like I say, Reach out if you need some help, and if not, we'll see you next Tuesday.